show, he was like, and you think this is the big one? I was like, well, no. I mean, Japan has been to the brink, it seems like every few years for the last 25. Is this different? The fact that you saw their 40-year yields go from 2% to 3.8% in a relatively short amount of time. What do you think?
I think this is the warning sign of the big one. I don't think it's the big one. And the only reason I say that is because I think the world will come to the aid of Japan. If they came to the aid of Greece,
Yeah.
they're going to come to the aid of Japan. But there's going to be a point in time, because now the US is becoming Japan from 30 years ago, that there's going to be no help to be had, but I think there still is. If this isn't a wake-up call, and I don't think it is, I don't remember who we were talking to, Jimmy, but I was like, I have no hope for the future. And he's like, I do, but I don't remember who the guest was. It gets worse, man. Every day it gets worse from an economic perspective of what
from a
these guys
debt
are going
perspective
to do.
specifically, right?
What's that?
From a debt perspective
Yeah,
specifically.
it just gets worse and worse and worse, and nobody thinks it matters.
Right. But to put it in perspective, they hold 1.2 trillion of U.S. treasuries. Now, by the way, so the U.S. is definitely vested in Japan's success. And I don't know if you saw this or if you people watching saw this too. Just the other day, the U.S. Treasury called around to all the big different currency trading banks to price dollar yen. They didn't do anything, but they wanted to make people think that they were right on the cusp of potentially supporting the yen, which I find fascinating how that, that little bit works. And one of my favorite jokes was when, the Fed loaded up on 8 trillion on their balance sheet. They can never sell it, because imagine being the guy at the primary dealer when you pick up the phone and say, yeah, this is the Federal Reserve, can you price me 200 billion? No, I can't. I got to go and sell all the 10-year I can. Thoughts on that?
The Bank of Japan did it too. It's called a rate check, right? And a buddy of mine is still in that world. I talked to him over the weekend. I said, I heard about a rate check. It was absolutely true. We got calls from the Bank of Japan. So if it's a concerted effort, the U.S. Treasury, I hadn't heard the Treasury thing, but I knew the Bank of Japan thing.
No, we did it too.
Effort. That's, I mean, it's brutal. You put these countries, it's very similar to one of my theses against Bitcoin, although I do own some. The main thesis being that it's still correlated to the NASDAQ. So what do you want from me? But if the U.S. give all the major G8 governments, just say you cannot transact here with that. Look out below. I don't know what they do about that. It's the same thing here. Like Japan should be bankrupt. It should be exploding. And they didn't let Greece explode. How are they going to let Japan explode? You look, but their demographic situation is way worse than anybody's. Like, it's no doubt about it.
And our demographics getting bad too. How do you fix something like that? It seems crazy that you can't fix it, right?
You can't. And that's, the funny part about it is, because politicians need to be reelected, my view only, you can't get people to understand that, like, you're struggling, so you're asking for help from the government. They need to get elected, so they try to find a way to give it to you, which makes you struggle more.
Yeah.
It's literally dominoes.
No doubt
like, you
about it.
have to get people to understand, look, there's going to have to be some suffering, and there's going to have to be austerity. I don't want to be one of the people suffering. So I completely understand why that would be the case. But dude, I don't know, man. Like, when people ask me if I have any hope, my flat out answer is no, I don't have hope.
So when you say that, you're talking about, I know we're big proponents of gold. So you're talking about potentially a bond crisis or a currency crisis within the next 5 years. Is that what you're saying?
The hard part for me is timing on it, because again, the global economy is such an ocean liner, so big that I don't know how long it takes to turn around. But yes, it's going to happen. I really hope I get hit by a train before it does, because I don't want to see it. But, we were talking to Shayna, and I'm like, hey, what can make gold to go down? She goes, I don't think anything. I don't either. But I still think I should take some profits now-ish, and then buy some more again later. I am just such a huge proponent of gold for this exact same reason that we're talking.
And you want to know something funny is that I sold 30% of my gold and silver over the last 2.5 weeks, and I still have more gold and silver today in value, in money terms, than I did 3 weeks ago, even after selling it all. Yeah, so this has been a crazy run. Can we talk about oil before we go out? Because I still think that 2026 is can we get a chart up, or is that above our capability?
No, I can put a chart up. Give me a second.
Yeah, because I think 2026 is going to be a time that the contrarian trade happens, and that we're supposed to be long oil, but I just don't know when, and I don't know how.
Well, I will tell you, you asked me about this last week, and I said,
know.
I don't think there's that it's going to go higher sustainably.
Yeah.
And you were right in the short term. I mean,
But I don't want to be
clearly.
right in the short term. This is not a short-term trade.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it clearly went higher, right?
Yeah.
But when I look at this chart, you're going to see a glaring roadblock as soon as I put it up here. Tell me when you see it.
Okay, so it's coming in right to the 200-day. At the same time, it's that high from before.
Right. And
And
the two
yeah.
failures, I'm going to call this one right here a 200-day failure right here.
Right.
It's not there
Yeah.
yet, but went up and it's closing lower. This is now a fairly solid double top, potential double top. Has not triggered, but if I measure it out and it triggers, this is the target right down to here.
Yeah.
Down to the open on January 8th. That's the approximate target. Let me just do a quick measurement to see, and then I'll show you something else on the chart. Just going to do a quick measurement to make sure it's a high probability double. It visually looks that way to me. It is. It's through the 75 with this high today. So the target becomes down here at the open on January 9th.
Yes.
And if I pull over to a weekly chart, which, obviously the longer one, we haven't even gotten up to the 50, which is this green one.
Okay.
And we haven't gotten there. So that's why when you asked me last week, I said, I don't know, 63.50 is probably a level that it's can peak at. This is where I got it.
Yeah, I know. And I have nothing that technically sets me up for this trade, and I'm not going to jump the gun, but I just have this gnawing feeling that it can't be so low forever. And if you are as bullish on the economy as I am, and maybe that's just from talking to Kudlow too much because he's Mr. Cheerleader all the time. But I don't know. I keep thinking that that oil is going to come around. And again, this is not a recommendation. I have no trade on. A lot of different thresholds need to be met before we do. What you want to hit anything last or no?
No, I'm good, man. I'm done.
Okay, let's roll. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been the Futures Edge. I'm Jim Murio. That was Baba Iachino. Please check out our sponsors: Independence Arc Farms, grass-fed, grass-finished beef. You will be glad you did. American Gold Exchange, Dana Samuelson. I think it's a time to own physical gold and silver. I know both of us do. Lastly, and most importantly, unfilteredinvestor.com. Mike Arnold, Baba Iachino, they are the best technical analysts. Again, you just saw a little glimpse of it there. Best technical analysts in the book. And it's not just for traders. It's for portfolio construction. It's for investment. There's all different sorts of time frames. There is something for everybody. Thank you guys for joining us on the Futures Edge.